Hi, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of Methods of Social Work Research. Just a couple of quick sort of housekeeping items or reflections on week 1, and then I'd like to take a little bit of time to walk you through the assignments and what we're going to be doing in week 2. It was really great to watch everybody's icebreaker videos. I'm sure you all get tired of doing those in every class, but it really is a great opportunity for me to be able to put some faces to the names. And also, it sounded like, from what a number of you indicated in your videos, that many of you have not had class together up until this point. So I think it's a lot of us getting to know each other. And of course, we only have 7 weeks to do it. So I really do appreciate those videos and people taking the time to do them. I also, from my perspective, it was interesting. I've taught several classes in this program, this online program now, and I think this class by far has the greatest variety of geographic locations that people are coming from. Most of my classes tend to have people primarily clustered in the Pennsylvania, sort of New Jersey, Delaware region, with maybe a couple of people from other states, but we really do have a lot of geographic diversity. As well as overall diversity in this class as well, and I think that's great and really enhances all of our learning. I'm always interested to hear, about work that's going on in other states and other areas of the country, aside from the Philadelphia area with which I'm most familiar. So that's great. I also myself am currently bi-coastal. I actually split some of my time in the Philadelphia area and some of my time in the Portland, Oregon area. So again, great that we have some representation from the West Coast in this course as well. So those are just a few thoughts. As far as grading your week 1 assignments, I will be doing that over the next few days. If you could please be patient with me, I will get those grades back to you. I do tend to take the time to give you pretty extensive feedback on assignments, so sometimes it might take me a little bit longer to grade than other weeks, depending on the assignments, but I typically will have grades to you. If the course ends on Sunday nights, you'll typically have grades from me by Saturday, so within that next week you'll get your grades from me, sometimes sooner, but sometimes it does take me a little bit longer depending on the assignments for that week. All right, so moving into week 2, this week we're going to be focusing more, as we started to do in week 1, on really looking at the differences between quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods research. We're also going to be talking in more depth about ethical issues in research, which you should have a fairly good sense of after completing the NIH certificate regarding human subjects research in week 1, so that should have given you a good basis for that. We're also going to be talking about how research happens, right? We start with an area that we're interested in, and then we see a problem, or we formulate a problem, and then from that we develop a research question. And then once we have that question, we have to figure out how we're going to answer it. And that's really what this problem formulation, conceptualization, and accessing literature involves. So as with each week, there are 2 videos that you will start out with that sort of give an overview of the topics that we're going to be discussing this week. So I would encourage you to watch those. It's a good place to start. So our objectives this week, again, are to continue to explore the similarities and differences between quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods research. We're then going to move into the ethical, political, cultural, and minority issues in applied social work research, which involves looking at some of the history of human subjects protection, what's an institutional review board, what's informed consent, cultural sensitivity, anonymity and confidentiality, and also looking at how the NASW Code of Ethics provides us with a foundation for doing ethical research. And then, as I said, we'll be looking at understanding problem, purpose, and research question formulation, and then accessing literature, because what's really important in doing research, when you've come up with a research question that you're interested in pursuing, you really first need to have an understanding of what research has already been done on that topic or related to that topic, so that can inform how you approach your own research. So being able to access literature to do that is critically important. As far as readings, We're going to be reading chapters 4, 5, and 6 in the Housekeeping text, which, as you probably saw in week 1, is a pretty concise textbook, so that 3 chapters shouldn't be too overwhelming in this book. Chapter 4 deals with writing clarity. So when we're reading a research journal article, what should we be looking for in terms of writing clarity? And Halaska will give us a method for critiquing the clarity of research articles. Chapter 5 is going to look at the 3 main content areas of quantitative research articles, and that includes the introduction, the methods section, and the results. And again, Halaska is going to give us a framework for how to read quantitative research articles and how to critique those 3 main areas. And then Chapter 6 is an introduction to the literature review and study purpose sections of a research journal article. So when we're reading a research article, or when researchers are writing one of the things they need to do, as I was saying when I was talking about problem formulation and situating that in the research literature, is they need to make a case for why their research question and their research problem should be studied, is necessary, is needed, is significant. And part of that involves a review of the existing literature and framing their study purpose and situating that in that existing literature. So Chapter 6 in Halaska, again, gives us a framework for critiquing that part of a research journal article. You're also going to read research knowledge-based website pages and be ready to discuss these, and sort of click on that one just to give you an idea. So we'll look at some of the foundation of research and evaluation, and then within this article there are also links that you'll click on that'll take you to the language of research, philosophical issues, ethical issues, conceptualization, so you'll click on those. And I find this website is really a pretty straightforward way to get a handle on some of the language of research. So you'll read the foundations link, the language of research link, the ethics in research, and the conceptualizing. And then again, within each of these, you can explore the links within each of those as well. All right. All right, and then finally, you also have 3 articles that you'll be reading that will form the basis of your discussion post assignments this week. And I'll talk more about those in a minute, but those are here, and you'll read those 3 articles. And finally, there are a couple of videos here at the bottom. There's one on concept mapping that is helpful in thinking about writing a research paper.
How do we start?
And then these are the PowerPoint
Welcome
slides
to
for the
week
week
2. You'll see
that will give you an overview of research. These slides are sometimes a good place. I know they're down at the bottom on this page, but sometimes these are a good place to start for the week because they really will give you an overview of everything that we're doing. And finally, there's also a video on the difference between, on plagiarism versus direct quotes, and this will really help you in doing some of your written assignments later in the semester. I don't go into a course thinking that anyone is intentionally planning or trying to plagiarize, but we also do need to be really careful about making sure that when we're paraphrasing and using direct quotes that we are using proper APA format, because otherwise it can create the image of plagiarism, even if that's not what you're intending. It's also really important, and I can't stress this enough, that we should only be using direct quotes when there's absolutely no other way to say what is being said. We should use direct quotes sparingly. They should not constitute the bulk of a response to something or the bulk of a paper. We should be paraphrasing whenever possible and citing in that way. So anyway, I just encourage you to watch this. It's a good guide. It's a good review, even if this is something that if you're comfortable with writing academic papers, but it's good. It's a good review for everybody. All right. Next, so those are your readings and objectives for the week and videos. Moving on to your discussion posts. Your first discussion post assignment this week is going to involve two of the articles that you'll be reading this week. There are two articles written by Ting and colleagues that are looking at clinical social worker responses to client suicide attempts. And you're going, after you read those two articles, you're going to be asked to comment on the writing clarity and readability of the articles using and citing the Housekeeping book. So I mentioned in Chapter 4, Housekeeping is going to give you a framework for critiquing the writing clarity of research articles. So you're going to apply that to these two articles that we read. And then you're also going to address what could have improved the ease of reading each article. The second question you'll answer is in those articles, in the literature review section of those articles, you're going to talk about what convinced you that the studies were important and should be conducted. And you're going to, again, use and cite Housekeeping and the framework Housekeeping lays out in Chapter 6 to critique the literature review section. You're going to apply that in your response. And then the third thing you'll discuss is what you think are the benefits and disadvantages of quantitative and qualitative research based on the articles. Again, there's no real right or wrongs to these, but the key thing that we're looking for is that you are applying the Housekeeping text in your discussion of the articles. That will be due Thursday. By Sunday, you'll be asked to follow up with at least two classmates, preferably who don't yet have responses, and comment on what you've learned from your classmates' posts and what you can add to their learning regarding the questions above. Please make sure you're adhering to the word minimum and maximum requirements, which are laid out right here. Make sure you use citations for any information you use from the Housekeeping text or the articles or any other outside references. And I think that pretty much explains that post. Make sure you're using the rubric that's also within the assignment. As I said, I think in week 1, I grade following the rubric, so as long as you're hitting the points in there, you should do okay. Let's go back to the next assignment. The second discussion post involves reading the Philadelphia Urban ACE Survey, which is another one of the articles that's required this week. And after you read the introduction and methodology used in that study, you're going to discuss the ethical implications of conducting this study. So in your initial post, you're going to address these 5 questions or components, describing the population that was surveyed, how did the authors collect the data, how did they obtain consent, what were the potential risks to the participants, who does the study benefit, the participants or others, and then you'll explain that a little bit. And that initial post will be due Thursday, and again there'll be a follow-up due Sunday where you'll respond to 2 of your classmates, and you'll discuss ways researchers could minimize the risks that they may encounter in similar study situations. And again, this is going to require you to apply some of the reading this week and last week. Again, same thing, make sure you're adhering to the word requirements. And